Welcome to Get It with Al, where we decode the future of marketing at the intersection of Web3 and AI. I'm your host, Al, and each episode I sit down with innovators who are redefining how we build, grow, and engage in the decentralized space. Whether you're seasoned Web3 marketers or just a crypto curious, you'll walk away with actionable insight and fresh perspectives. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Thank you for joining me. And hopefully I don't say your name wrong. Is Marvyn Paul, right?
Yes, that
Yeah,
is
great.
absolutely correct.
Okay, great. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you end up being, marketing and Web3.
Sure. Hi, Al. Thanks for having me on here. So I'm been like always interested in marketing, communication, like communication in as many means as possible, really. So I like film, music, and writing, and marketing was always like a bit of a natural step for me in that regard. Like I am an introvert, like speaking to people for a living won't be my preferred way to do things, but I do like, creating. So anything written, audio, video, I find a lot of joy in doing that. And marketing is a place where I can not just do this sort of stuff, but also think about the bigger picture of how this all fits, into a company's message. So it makes every day a bit of a problem solving exercise, and I quite like that. And I love being online. I love being plugged into the news and what's happening, the internet discourse and all that. So I think it's a job that lets me do what I like and let me get paid for what I like doing. So from that regard, like I only really see myself in marketing and communication. Like of course I've had my own business as well. I like that, but I do find the ability just to communicate with people and get feedback, iterate, build, I like that process a lot.
Mhm. So you like more the creation aspect of it.
Yeah. I like the creating aspect. I like, it, every marketing campaign is a bit of a challenge in the sense that you have a new audience, you have a new message, and it's just about adapting this message in the way that'll make it land best with your community. And of course, you're not going to get it right the first time, every time. And I think that's part of the fun, really. It's like there's that risk, there's that, when you click post or send, launch a campaign, you don't know in that moment how it's going to do or not. So I think there's a lot of that, the anticipation in there that is that's really exciting for me.
Hmm. So the whole launching. Do you like an example of like one campaign you're like really proud of?
Yeah. So I've worked in the advertising agency part of crypto for a little bit as well. So I was at Blockwiz for like a year, and I first joined as an editor, and I moved up to head of communication. So it really being in an agency is like there's so much happening, and it's really amazing to see the absolute breadth of what's going on in the crypto space. So you have your regular, your fairly not innovative like white label company. So effectively it's going to be like a DEX or something that isn't all that exciting. There's a lot of them there, and the differentiation is often like fees or, low fees in this regard, or just like the strength of the marketing. So I found those were, it was completely putting the ball in my court as a marketer and a writer, but I found the more novel solutions are where I was a lot more interested in stuff. So one company that did a lot of writing for was called Tuition Coin, and this was an educational tech platform built on Cardano. So it was, it was an innovative way of trying to fill in the gaps that people believe the education system wasn't really doing right. So I had to pull out a lot of research from different fields, like looking at US studies based on, different parts of the country, how education and literacy has grown or fallen over a certain amount of time. Then also looking at the other part of the equation they were trying to fix was teachers, especially public school teachers, don't earn all that much in North America. So it's about bridging the gap from both the students not getting enough educational backing because of there's a big picture problem about education in a lot of parts of the country, as well as the teachers getting as much. So I got to pull from real world research as well as talk about crypto's use cases, especially in this case, Cardano's use cases. So it really enabled me to get very deep. And it was all about talking to enthusiasts. It was talking to people who were not into crypto at all. And it was talking to the parents of kids who, may be a little bit left behind in this scenario. And you had to sort of put your point across in a very tactful way. So it was lots of different focuses, lots of output. Like some of the longest articles I've written for any companies I've been with this for this client. And I just found that there was so much iteration, so much untapped narrative elements that crypto doesn't normally pick up on, that I found it was a really interesting place to operate. So yeah, that was a very long campaign. And yeah, it was lots of iteration, working very closely with the team, trying to understand their specific insights into the market. So I found that was I felt that I improved as a writer a lot in that as well, because the team also had very specific ways of communicating that I found was, as a writer, I'm still using some of these right now in the way I craft my messages.
So you got to learn a lot.
Yeah, learning a lot and like learning by doing. And I think that was what was the most exciting part of it.
Plus, it was like educational content as well, I guess. Also,
Yeah,
doing all those long articles.
yeah. So I was making educational content for the educators so that they could make more educational content. So I was like the first mover, like the first domino.
Mhm. All right. How about you talk also you mentioned like you made also videos and things like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
do you
So
make it yourself or you have a team?
so everything I do, I try to do it myself. So the podcast that I have is also I did all the branding, marketing, editing, all of it because I enjoy being too busy rather than not busy enough. And I have a very specific way of seeing the way I like to get my message across, that I can explain it to someone, but then that means hiring someone, explaining it to them. And, there's a lot of extra complexity. I'm sure there is going to be a moment in time where I can do that. But for now, like during the pandemic, I learned Adobe After Effects because we had all that time and people were watching more videos than ever before. So I'm like, why not learn how to get better at this? Because I have experience with like your more traditionally used things like Adobe Premiere, then iMovie, and all those other platforms that you can make like good to acceptable, like acceptable to good videos. But then if I was really wanted to get into the motion graphics side of it, the storytelling aspect using like not real footage, like how much could I make? How much of the story can I put across with just getting a really good handle on animation and storytelling using two-dimensional like images and like stuff. So that was a challenge that I really liked. It also got me into it was a really nice way to visit filmmaking again, because there's so much that goes into visual communication that, as someone who enjoys watching stuff, that is just one layer of the understanding. When you make it, then you start looking at a whole bunch of creative choices that people choose to make in order to amplify their message a little bit more. So I started off really simple, making like audio spectrum videos for songs that I really liked, just to see, okay, this is a proof of concept of making like reactive elements. All right, how can I use this to tell a story? So it was very much of like, let me learn a technique. Let me first see a storytelling aspect that I want to understand. Then I go back to the basics to work my way to be able to tell that effective, to use this effective storytelling tool within the video setup. So I started off with very simple audio spectrum videos. And then as I got better at this, I started making adverts for my company, which is a co working space in Mumbai. So it was footage that recorded in the space, and we had some photographers working in the space as well. So then once they wanted to get involved, like I axed all my footage because we had a professional that's giving me footage. So it was a really nice chance to, use high quality original footage for me to chop and tell a story in the way I wanted. So it provided a lot of creative freedom and flexibility that I quite like. And while I'm not doing video making full time right now, I think my position as a content strategist, is very much benefited by this experience because now, for example, if we have an ad campaign or a token generation event or a release of some kind, and there's a video accompaniment, I can talk to the editor and the video producer in a sort of language that'll be most efficient to get the point across.
Mhm. So you always been doing marketing in Web3, or you started
Mhm.
because you have your own company also, right?
Yes, yes. So I have been in Web3, well, crypto, since like 2013, 14. That's when I first got into it, mainly as a trader and as someone who just thought, oh, wow, this is some cool internet money. But over time, I really got to see what's going on in this space, the implications of what censorship-proof money, censorship-proof services, like sort of stuff we can build on here and create increase accessibility to finance, to speculative markets, sure, but I do think that there's a lot of the value driven aspects of crypto that we spoke about earlier that, you know, depending on who you talk to, we are close or far away from achieving that. I started off in traditional marketing. I had my own company. Uh, I couldn't do both crypto and the company at the same time. I was also making crypto based content before I decided to start my co working space. And once the co-working space is doing well, so we had COVID, it was disastrous for the co-working space because India's lockdown, I was in India at the time, and the lockdowns were really, really intense for like the best part of a year. It was just, you didn't know from one week or another whether offices would be open, public transportation would be open. So in that time, I was like, oof, I should really be widening my horizons a little bit in case, because COVID was a problem much bigger than anything that I could insulate myself from. So my crypto involvement naturally went up. The crypto market was also booming. So seeing my efforts being rewarded was a lot nicer. But as someone who's always kind of been in the analytical side of it, making that step into crypto marketing was something that I truly acted on once the co working space is doing well. So the market reopened after COVID and a company decided to take out my space on the long term. So I'm like, okay, cool. My bandwidth is completely free right now. Let's go back to what I really want to do. And for me, crypto has always been a passion. The I just find how we have just made the world feel so much smaller through technology in crypto. And that was an idea that I wanted to build on, and that's something I wanted to participate in as much as I could. So I ended up working with Blockwiz. That was like my first full-time crypto role, and that was in around 2021. And since then, I've been, enjoying the freelance life, consulting, working with companies, doing stuff remotely. It's just been a nice free form sort of career, and been meeting a lot of interesting people along the way. And yeah, it's been really, really rewarding.
All right, great. Um, so based on all those experience, like what's a common misconception about marketing in Web3 you learn
Mhm.
from your experience that isn't true?
That isn't true. Okay.
Yeah.
So first, let me go through the things that may be true. Okay.
If we go through
So,
those.
yeah. So effectively, I think people think of marketing as an afterthought in crypto, and I think that is a pretty big issue because so much of what we're doing over here is like the crypto is very much for a very small group of people online right now. And thanks to ETFs, it's finally getting a little bit wider. But it isn't at the level that anyone thought, we'd be on this march towards adoption, especially with this current bull run. Like we keep asking ourselves, where's retail? Where's retail? And I think that there's something a lot more elemental about crypto that's affecting that, and that is our marketing only talks to people already in the space. And fine, that's cool. You can talk about much more complex things to people who've already bought into the idea. But I also think that there's no way this industry is going to grow until we start doing a lot more hand holding, making it a lot easier for people to get on board, both from a marketing perspective as well as from a product perspective. So I think we need, it's the same 100, 200,000 people who are running from app to app to app, from airdrop to airdrop, from Dex to Dex. It's like, that's cool. A few people are making a lot of money, but this isn't exactly the growth that we wanted. So I think a big thing that we should be doing is really doubling down on the basics. We need to keep telling people why crypto is important, why decentralized money is important, and really building use cases around this decentralized money aspect. So from that perspective, getting the new people in, what we're doing wrong is like being too complicated. We're using too much jargon. We're doing things that are like being online and in this space plugged in and not meeting people who are not in this space, we tend to go deeper and deeper and deeper into our rabbit holes, which is why, crypto meetups are really important. Just doing regular temperature checks with local communities is really important. And it's also about finding not just, oh, I like crypto, this person likes crypto, let's hang out. It's about, I like crypto and I like, for example, public goods financing. Let me find this intersection in crypto and public goods and create more events around that. So it's about bringing the people who are always online, always at their computers, into the real world, talk about real world problems that we can fix. Because until the man on the street can see the value that crypto drives beyond just speculative stuff, I don't know whether this industry can grow as quickly as we hope it
Mhm. So I'm not gonna ask you about meme coins.
can. See, I love speculation. So don't get me wrong. I love the speculative aspects of crypto. I think if there's any absolutely delivered use case that crypto has, it is the speculative aspects, it's the gambling aspects. And I think you have to take the good with the bad. We have this amazing attention that meme coins are developing. I'm just hoping that we use this attention to create something a little bit more lasting, because the meme coins are proving that there's a market validation in this. There's a market appetite for this. And what we should be doing is trying to, use this interest to build something that'll keep people to stay. Because people are coming for this, but what are they staying for? And I think that is something that marketing and communication and storytelling can really help. Because if you think about the altcoins from, like, we call them dino coins a little disparagingly, but like the altcoins from 2017 to 19, right? A lot of these folks who invested then, who didn't sell when it crashed, are still holding on to these coins because they're hoping, because they bought into a big picture narrative. And I find that meme coins don't leave too much room for that big picture narrative that'll get people to ride it out with you during the bear market. So I think meme coins they have a place for sure. But anything that we don't build on top of this attention is a bit of a waste of all this effort.
Mm, all right. Mm, so any last word before like we wrap up?
Sure, sure. Yeah, like, thanks so much for having me. I am also a podcaster in the
Mm-hmm.
crypto space. So a little differently though, mine is like a Toronto podcast first, effectively, and then it is crypto, because a lot of my guests are on Farcaster and they are from the local scene who I've met at meetups, and I kind of want to continue doing that. So I meet people in person. I have my little portable setup that fits in my backpack, and we just chat for like an hour. And I try to get as deep as I can into the way they think, into why they want to get into this part of the market, because there are so many builders, there are so many people out there who are confused Could we talk about crypto's potential? There's so many people who are confused about what is actually happening. So I want to talk to as many builders, movers, and shakers locally so that people can understand, oh, this is happening in my own backyard. Maybe this is something I should look into. So yeah, so my podcast is called Is This the New Internet? And it's
Hmm.
intentionally broad because the new internet could mean many different things to many different people. Is this new ways of making money? Is it new ways of connecting with people? Is it new ways of, transmitting shared values? So there's so much in this current internet that we don't know. So unearthing that to see where the internet can go from here, I think is a very valuable story for anyone today because we spend an increasing amount of time connected to the internet. So to understand how it works, where our data is going, what people who also love the internet are doing to improve our experiences on the internet, I just find that is it's really important, and I hope it can spur people on to work on the sort of stuff that they want to see put in motion because the internet's made it easier than ever for you to act on your ideas. With AI, you can like if you can never draw or never write, you can do that now. All you need is an idea and the desire to act on it. So I'm hoping that my podcast, it's called Is This the New Internet, will inspire some people to get on this journey and to do things.
Okay, so it's not just Web3 and marketing; it's like
Yeah.
bigger issues.
So I'm starting with Web3 because I think Web3 is the most, there's a lot more excitement and promise around it that people are putting into motion. But I do want to expand it into like the Fediverse, for example, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Noster. There are so many decentralized networks that are out there. And then also we can go beyond it into like, for example, a collective ownership of like record labels or like production houses. So there are different ways, and as more people do things more independently, I just think the internet is going to form this foundation of so much value that we're going to continue to build. But this value won't really be owned by a few companies that kind of dictate the internet. It'll be us, the users, having an ownership stake, maybe a stake in the future of how this develops. So I think there's so much that can go on, and we have such a blank canvas of what we can build. So gatekeepers are going away slowly but surely. So now it's up to us to see what are we doing now that the mods are asleep.
Okay, so you're not too worried about the GAFAM and all those giants on the internet.
So there are giants on the internet. There's always going to be giants, right? And I think we can now we have the tools to thrive despite the presence of the giants because making a community has never been as personal as it is right now because with thanks to the pandemic, audio and video communication has got so much better. Everyone's a lot more comfortable doing it. Therefore, we don't have to meet in person to feel that an actual connection needs to be made. And I think using these rails is a very useful way that we can connect with more people than ever before, take on more ideas than ever before, and like collaborate. Like I've been working remotely for years now, and I really do not feel the need to go into the office ever again, really. And I think this was unimaginable, and the internet's made this possible. So what are we going to do now to make this even more, satisfying and rewarding for the users here, so that we can organically grow this out to make this life feel a little bit more rewarding, effectively.
Hmm. And in terms of content and idea, how do you keep up with like marketing? Do you have like other podcasts you listen to, books?
Yeah, so I quite like I listen to a lot of general podcasts. So I like having something playing for like most of the time effectively. I can just go to my podcast list for you. So of course there's a lot of music podcasts, there's a lot of sci-fi podcasts in there. But like in terms of marketing, I really like what are they called? So the marketing podcasts I actually don't listen to a whole lot specifically, but I do like reading. So there's this blog called H1 Gallery which is effectively an analysis on how companies are making their websites, and it focuses purely on the hero header of the website. So every week I get like a collection of websites that are just very succinctly putting their message across. And you can see how design language is kind of evolving a little bit through this. Like H1s of even 3 years ago look so different to now. So I think it's really cool to see the way we are using our changing understanding of, you know, a screen. A screen is effectively a fairly standard thing. But the way we choose to lay out information differently on the screen, I'm finding really interesting. Logos are becoming less prominent. And now it's all in simple language to say what the company does. And I find that appeal to a sense of purpose is really nice and honest. And there's a lot of companies building on that sort of an idea. Then I love podcasts. There's like GM Farcaster is one of my go-tos. So like every other day they give us a lowdown on what's happening on Farcaster. Then I quite like Moment of Zen, which this is by the founder of Farcaster, Dan Romero. He again it is less crypto, but it has crypto folks in there, so we do get big picture stuff of what crypto founders are thinking. Then, of course, the Pods crew. Like, as someone who hosts my podcast on chain, on Pods, there's so many great podcasters on there. Like, Lost Foremost is a lot of fun. Zero Pod is amazing. Then Show Me the Crypto, Purple People. Like, I think there's so much untapped crypto culture over here that it's the best time to be part of this group. But also, I think with so few people actually here, I think anyone who's making this sort of a podcast now is really setting themselves up well to be an enduring part of the conversation. Because this is how more and more people are consuming media. And I think the more we cater to that desire, I think the better our space is going to be for it.
All right. So the best place to find you is Farcaster.
Yes, I am Marv P, MARVP on Farcaster. I'm also a MP Web3 wordsmith on X,
Mhm.
and but I've got a link tree on my Farcaster, I think, so you can find all my socials on there. But yeah, I try to be most active on Farcaster because while I'm not like a builder, I like seeing what the builders are doing, and being so close to it is a lot of fun. So I do spend most of my time on there, and of course on Instagram, but that's mainly for memes. So if you want me to, if you want to read intelligible stuff from me, I think Farcaster is the best place.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and
So much for having me.
hopefully we'll talk soon. Also, some other time.
Yes, yes. Looking
All
forward to
right.
that. Looking forward to that. Take care. Thanks so much for having
Thanks.
me.
Bye.
Bye bye.